Hey, what's up, shipmates? So IBM recently spun off Kyndryl, ticker KD, which is basically, or was basically, their IT services wing. Now, I'm not a fan of IBM. I've soured so much that this longtime stock I've held, I sold all my shares because I wanted to get rid of them. But before I got rid of them, I wanted the spin-off shares of Kyndryl. But I sold IBM and I did not get my shares of Kyndryl. So what the heck happened, and what should you always know about spin-offs so you don't get screwed out of shares like I did? Hey, so I'm Russ, and thanks for joining me on your journey to financial freedom and making me a small little bitty part of it. I do appreciate that. Thank you, and if you enjoy learning from other people's mistakes so you don't have to make those mistakes, give the video a big thumbs up. Quick recap of the IBM Kyndryl spinoff. The date of record was October 25th, so that's the date you needed to have held by in order to receive shares on the distribution date of November 4th. Now, I treated this like a dividend, and if you don't know, the way that dividends work is you have to hold 2 days before the date of record and 1 day before the ex-dividend date. Now, the ex-dividend date is always the day before the date of record. And the reason for this is that in today's stock market, things are done and accounted for in a T+2 way, which means that events, trades, things are recorded 2 days after the event happens. So in this case, I assumed I was in the clear by selling the day after the date of record, which you can see on October 26th, I did indeed sell in 2 tranches. They broke it up, but it was the same price, 14 shares of IBM at $127.25. But check that out. IBM Corp trades with due bills. Oh, and look at that. Yada's numbers were released. Yes, I am on Yada, and if you'd like, I'll link my code in the description below, which you can share, and we'll both get free tickets if you would like to join me on this impromptu Yada journey. Now back to what we were talking about, that it trades with due bills. So what does it mean that IBM trades with due bills? So spin-offs are kind of like dividends, where the amount of the spin-off, like a dividend, is coming out of the share price. For example, if a stock has a 50-cent dividend, on the X dividend date, X meaning without, that stock will open up at least 50 cents lower because they have to pay out the dividend. So same thing with spin-offs. The spin-off is coming out of the share price of IBM, in this case with Kyndryl. So what that would look like is for every 5 shares of IBM you held, you would get 1 share of Kyndryl. So that broke down to about $5.68 a share. So when we look at what Kyndryl opened up at on the morning of November 4th, $28.41, you divide that by 5, you get $5.68. So that's what IBM had to drop and be reduced by per share on that same morning. Now what I did, and the mistake that I made, is I sold before the shares were handed out, before they were distributed. So I sold IBM before the spinoff drop. So the spinoff was still attached to IBM, but I was owed the spinoff shares. So whoever bought my shares, they were now entitled to that, because that would have been like cheating the system if I would have been able to sell IBM for $127.25 and get the shares of Kyndryl before the IBM share price dropped. So those shares were still attached to IBM. It was due bills, and it all worked out for the better because Kyndryl, when I sold, I got it for what would have been about $28.41, and right now it is about $24 and change. So yes, while the share price of IBM has recovered a little bit, I still would be able to buy Kyndryl cheaper for than what it would have been given to me when I sold those shares of IBM. So basically, it's pretty much negligible. But one thing it did do is that this spinoff was not a taxable event. So by me selling these, yes, my shares had been held for longer than a year, which meant I paid the long-term capital gains tax, which is lower than the short-term capital gains tax, which is your ordinary income tax rate. So the lesson here with spin-offs is to not sell the parent company that's spinning off the shares until you have those shares in your account, or you're going to get hit with the due bills, which could be negligible. But if it's a hot spin-off and that thing takes off, you're probably going to wish you held. So just a word to the wise, take it from me, learn from my mistake to not sell before you have the spin-off shares in your account. I love many things in life, and one of them is beer. So if you'd like to buy this guy a beer, click the link in the description below to buy me a beer. I'll shout you out on the next video. And what is wonderful are dividend kings. Everybody loves dividend kings. These are companies that have paid a dividend for 50 years of increasing that dividend consistently. And I found 8 of them that I think are at a good buying spot right now recently. So check out those in that video right here, and I will talk to you there.